So I'm on my own journey of creative discovery, looking for where in my life creativity lies. I'm seeking what creativity truly looks like, and I'm finding that it is often harder to see than you might expect, because we all do creativity differently. Everyone has a process to take their gifts and apply them to create. So today, let's look at creativity and see if we can make sense of the creative process. So, like I said before, I am on my own journey of creative discovery. And with these videos, the idea is to give you a firsthand view inside my thoughts as I'm working through this journey. So, I'm not the expert in any of this. I just want to have a conversation about life and creativity. So, creative process. It's something that we hear about, and maybe we have some sort of process of our own that we use in our creative endeavors, but what is it really? Well, if being creative is, as I like to define it, about taking those skills, abilities, and talents that you've been given by God and applying them to a problem. So then what we're talking about in terms of process is the application of creativity on the problem. That single word, apply, is the creative process. But it's much more than one simple word can define. So creativity is your potential to create. The action of creating is the process you go through to do the creative thing. Regardless of the artistic or non-artistic aspects of the created work, no matter the creative outlet, there is some kind of process behind it, even if it is total chaos. So let's step back for a second so I can remind you where I stand on something that will impact what we're talking about here. I honestly believe that every person is creative. Man, that is the whole point of this channel, to encourage the creative growth in everyone, including those who are generally not considered by the world or by themselves to be creative. I personally don't believe in non-creatives. I believe that we all have differing gifts and we use them in varying ways to create. And we create in every imaginable way. Just like we all have differing gifts, we all have differing ways of applying creativity to a problem. There is no one singular creative process. As much as I would personally like for there to be only one, so someone could tell me what to do when my process gets all out of whack. That being said, from my own observations, I think there are two main generalized creative process categories, if you will. So it's the map it all out process and the let it all flow process. So the map it all out form of creative process would, on the surface, point to mostly being used by those people who create in non-artistic ways. But that's not really the case. I know lots of artistically creative people who are a place for everything and everything in its place type of person. So being structured and formulaic in your approach to creativity does not make you less creative, either artistically or non-artistically. It just means that the application of your God-given gifts has more plan and purpose in its application. Now, the map it all out folks use regular patterns and maybe even checklists to guide their process to creative completion. Those types of creative minds are more often than not, they know when the creative work is complete. Then you have the let it all flow camp. And again, on the surface, you'd think that these are all the artistically creative people, but no. I also know a lot of non-artistically gifted creatives that prefer to fly by the seat of their pants when they're applying their creativity. The free-spirited approach to the use of your gifts does not inherently make you more artistically creative. It simply means that your approach to the creative endeavor will be different from application to application, even when the application is relatively similar. Some people are just not designed to do things the same way twice, regardless of the success of that process in the past. Where the map it all out people use structure in their creative process, the let it all flow people use intuition in theirs. And I believe that these types of creatives struggle to know when their creative work is complete. Okay, so I wasn't completely honest about my thoughts here. Truth be told, there is, in my opinion, a third category, one that actually combines elements of both of these main categories. In some instances, people who mix their creative process styles have to have an order to one type of creative process. And with others, they never really do things the same way twice. I honestly think that there are a lot of people in this category. And to be honest, I actually fall into this split personality creative process category. But what's important today is the knowledge that the creative process comes in different forms. And even if your creative process lands right in the middle of one of these process categories that we just talked about, I can guarantee that your process will be different than someone else's that falls into the same category. Your process is distinctly tied to who you are and the gifts you've been given and how you've been taught to use them. It's like your own creative process fingerprint. Unique to you, but potentially similar to many. Okay, so that is some thoughts on creative process. And even though it is different for all of us, there are things that can universally affect our process. Here are my big three impactors of creativity. 1, our health in all its forms, spiritual, emotional, and physical. Health heavily impacts our creative process. When we're unhealthy, creativity is harder to apply in our lives. It does not mean that we can't create great work when we're unhealthy. It happens all the time. It's just not a great place to stay for the long haul if you can help it. And honestly, it's not a good place for your creativity to thrive. 2, our environment affects and impacts our process. Now, I'm not saying that we all have to have the super cool, vibey environment to create, because we don't. We have to be able to create in the environment we're in. Sometimes we're able to create in new and potentially better ways when we're in an environment that is uncomfortable for us for whatever reason. But if your process flourishes in a specific type of environment, then you need to make sure that you have access to that. So 3 is our relationships. They impact our lives more than anything because we're all made by God to be in relationship. First and foremost, to God through faith in Jesus. And second to that is our relationships with those that God has placed in our lives. Our creative work is directly impacted by our relationships. When we have good, strong relationships, we are more free to apply our gifts well. And let's not forget that more often than not, we don't create in a vacuum. We create with others that we have relationship with. Those creative relationships need to be good in order to create well, but that is not to say that we can't create in the context of bad relationships. This is more a matter of which do you prefer? Finally, let's wrap our heads around growing and developing our creative process. Regardless of what category of process we implement in our lives, our process is something that can be nurtured and developed. But how do we do that? Just like anything else in life, we gain strength by doing reps. Creative reps are needed to make our creative process stronger. Reps give the let it all flow people experience that feeds and grows their intuitive abilities for the future. Reps also give the map it all out people opportunity to refine their structure to create better the next time. When we create together with others, reps give us familiarity and credibility with those people. And that allows us to use our combined creative gifts to create better together. Okay. So our creative process is important for our creative success. And we want to see our creative endeavors succeed. Talk with me in the comments below about your creative process. What does your creative process look like? Who are you creatively? Are you the let it all flow or the map it all out kind of person? How do you develop processes to maximize the use of your God-given creative gifts? Whatever your answers to these questions are, I hope that through thinking through your creative process, it has encouraged you to go, create, and be a blessing. You can support our channel by subscribing, hitting that bell icon to get notified when new content comes out, and liking our videos. If you'd like to consider supporting our team financially, there's a link in the video description with more details. Those things will help our channel for sure, but if you do nothing else, please spend some time in the comments of our videos encouraging one another to create, to help others create, and to help grow that creative nature within us all. Oh, and you can check out these videos too. Thanks. We'll see you again soon.